Messina, Sicily,
The date?
January 14th, 1933,
On
on a Saturday. The major thing about my birth was after two girls, my father wanted a boy, which I started coming out. My grandmother thought that I was a boy, the way my cord was, and she went out there and told my father, Tony, you finally got your son. Well, then when I was all the way out, I wound up being a girl, and she had to go back out and tell him that I was a girl. He wasn't very happy, because he wasn't happy at all. So he told all the people that were waiting, you all go home, we're not going to celebrate. And my grandma said, I grabbed him by his shirt, and I said, now look, you don't make babies by your hands. You're going to accept her like you did the others. But the thing of it is, I grew up with the thought that I should have been a boy, and I climbed trees, busted my head open. I did everything a boy would do to make my father happy. Remember, the tale was this. When I was born, my sister had the whooping cough, both of them. And when I was born, I got the whooping cough. And they didn't think I was going to live because I would cough and turn black. And so my grandmother always said, if I survived that, I would survive anything. And she knew what she was talking about. My grandfather and my grandmother, when they were first married, they went to New York. And the purpose of that was that they were going to work and save enough money to go back home to buy property. So they had a lot of friends, they made a lot of friends, and they entertained a lot. And this group of people went to the orphanage one time. It's the orphanage of the poor. And walking through, they seen all these kids, and my mother was blonde with blue eyes, and everybody in Sicily is dark with dark eyes, and she kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. And my grandmother never had a moment's peace after that. She kept saying to her husband, Fortunato, we must get that girl. We must have a child, blah, blah. Finally consented to it. So they went and applied. I have all the papers here. We got them the other day. And so to make a long story short, they finally were approved, and they took the child temporarily as a trial thing. Well, it worked out fine. So they adopted her. But the thing they didn't know is that my mother had a sister in the orphanage. And by the time they found out about it, she was already been adopted. It was very loved. My grandmother lived with us, and she was a nice big lady. When we were sick, she would hold us against her breast and sing to us and take care of us. She was the lovingest person. My mother was married when she was like 15, so she was like a kid. She was like a sister to my sisters, because there's much difference between her and my older sister. So I really was the baby, so they kind of catered to me. There's no words that I can describe about Messina. In the evening or on the weekend, we go where they call it passeggiata, which is like where the ocean is. There's like a park. People just, in the evening, they just walk. We used to love it. The thing that was funny about it is, Emma used to say, now we're going to go to passeggiata. Everybody go pee, because if you have to pee when you're there, there's no place to pee. And then she would go in a balcony, and we had a bush there with flowers that smelled real good. Gelsomino, they called them. And she used to take and put them in a purse, always, because she wanted a purse to smell good. And then she used to take bread and put sugar between it and wrap it up in this hanky. So if we were good while we were walking, she would treat us with this piece of bread. And it always tastes just like the flowers. The thing we wore was handmade by my grandmother. She would make us a little dress, and then she would make us a little apron that you'd slip your sleeves in to wear over them so we wouldn't get so dirty. And we would wear the same dress like 3 or 4 days, because those little aprons would keep them clean, and all of us wore that. My mother wore nothing but handmade clothes.
Dresses only?
Dresses only. No, we never pants. To this day, my sister in Italy don't wear pants unless it's really cold. No, most people wear dresses. Never wore pants. Never.
Father?
My father wore pants. Was kind of scarce, but grandma could always fix a meal. We could have zucchini with pasta. She would fry zucchini and with pasta and put cheese over it. We would have pasta with beans. I remember one time that we had stamps. We had to, cash in to get food. And we didn't have no food one time. And we had a can of condensed milk. And she made that can of condensed milk. And we all ate, diluted it, and we all ate and dunked biscotti in there. I remember that. But we never went hungry. Never went hungry. She always, and then she bought some chickens. So we always had eggs. And she would say, Clara, now go down there and check the chicken and see if they got egg. And you would take the chicken and you stick your finger up her butt to see if she had an egg. And then you go to the other chicken and feel her. So she knew how many eggs we had that day. So we knew what we had the six to eat. We lived in Messina on Via Igliastri, number 80.
And who lived with you?
We always lived with my grandmother because my grandmother owned a lot of property, and the house we lived in was near the property that she owned. So we actually lived with my grandmother all of our life. We never had a home of our own. My father never owned a house. My mother never owned a house. We lived with grandma because she was alone, and she was widowed when she was 45. So she was actually our mother. We lived in a very large house. They had a balcony. They went all the way around, and it was beautiful. Matter of fact, we had enough stairs that we never used. The downstairs was big enough, and we had a little hole that we called a cubby hole. It's just a little bedroom. And my grandmother slept in there, and we fought who was going to sleep with my grandmother because she was heavy and warm. And in those days, we didn't have heat. And that's what we slept with her. And we upstairs, we never used it. We just had a tub and stuff like that upstairs. My grandmother did a lot of sewing, make almost all of our clothes. And for Halloween, which is Carnevale over there, she used to make us outfit. And our balcony, we grew up in a terrace. What we did, we used to put a plug in the hole where the drainage was, and we used to run the water and try to fill that terrace, act like it was our pool. And she would catch us and beat the crap out of us with a wooden spoon right in the rear end because we did that. So you can go up in that terrace and you can see the whole panoramic of Messina. The water, the port where all the ships came in. Matter of fact, that's where most of the bombing was done because the ships used to go there. Beautiful brick house. I've got pictures of it you can put in your book if you want. And I took while I was in Italy last year. Around, and it had an iron fence, which the war, when it started, it took the fence, for the state, took everything that was iron, and they put a little block fence. And near the fence there was a fig tree. And that was my fig tree. And that fig tree is still there to this day. And I used to climb that fig tree, and I used to get in trouble for climbing the fig tree. And my mother would say, "Get down that fig tree. If you're a fall, I'm never going to take you to the hospital." But one day I did fall, and I cracked my head, and I still have the scar right there. And she stood in the balcony and told me, "Just bleed because I'm not taking you." And the lady next door that ran for my grandmother took me the first day to get sewed. Like, everybody's named, actually, with a saint's name, like St. Mary, St. Joseph. If you were born like the day, in their calendar, there are certain days, like we have certain days here, like President's Day and something where they go for the saints. And St. Luigi, they would have what they call a parade. They would take the statue of St. Luigi from the church, and they put it like a thing, and they carry on their shoulders, and people would follow and throw flowers and stuff. Santa Catarina, the favorite saint of my father was San Antonio, and that was big doings when there was a saint's name, and they would have the big parade and stuff. That was really, and then they would have like people on the street selling pastries and chestnuts, hot chestnuts, and it was fun. That was really the highlight of our life. War started 40, probably 7, The only thing I can remember that I really was aware of the war is when they start bombing us, and it was so scary. As I said, we lived near the port, so finally, Grandma went to San Perniceto, which is a little town in the country, and they didn't bomb up there. So we rented a house there. That's where I told you I met the girl with a goat, and we stayed there probably a year and a half. And my father used to go to work every day on a bicycle and ride back and forth to work. War, and we were leaving the car with some people, and they were bombing. The car went over the embankment. We all got hurt. I got my knee hurt, and my mother almost lost her leg with cut here, and my sister Catherine got banged up too, and my sister Louisa, and this is when the problem came back with my knee, because they just sewed it up. An infection set in, and I guess they thought maybe that gangrene had set in. And they thought that maybe I'd lose my leg, but this doctor called Dr. Lombardo. He was a young intern, and when they brought me home from the hospital, he said, because my mother won't let them do nothing to my leg. And somebody told him about this young doctor, or he heard about me at the hospital, so I don't remember. But he came over, and he would come every day, and he would cut this. This was all open right here, and he would take a wire and wrap it with gauze and dip it in peroxide, which was very hard to get, and he would run that thing in my leg every day, and everybody that held me down, it was faint. I went to hell. March the 14th in New York, and we got there at night, and it was the middle of the night. Oh, I say in the evening, it was dark, and everybody kept hollering, the Statue of Liberty, Liberty, la, la, la. So we all ran upstairs, and the Statue of Liberty, I see that just like it was today. She was all lit up. What a feeling, gave you goosebumps, clear down your feet. So, you know, I think sometimes I'm a long way from where I came from, considering how I lived through the war and the injuries I had during the war. You know, this country, at 13 years old, not knowing how to speak the language, going to a school with all American kids, and they were really cool, pretty nice, helping me out. And this country's been good to me. I think I've been good to this country. Look at the kids I give them, and the grandkids and great-great-kids. I mean, I multiplied. It's bigger. But I love this country. There's nothing I can say. I'm happy with my life right now. The only thing I've got is knowledge in my head. You know, the good times I had when I was a child in Italy, all the good memories, never leave you. No matter where you go, you're born is the place. There's always a little nest in your heart for your home. It's a change, but I guess I came here so young. I'm more Americanized than I am. I feel when I go back that I'm all right there for a while, and then I'm very homesick for this country. It's been good to me, and of course it was good to me before the war came, so I just live and take a day at a time.